Hello and welcome back to Just Another Football Podcast. We're back. Our faces are in front of you. Hi, Harry, Fergal, George. Wave to the camera for the viewers in front of us.
There you go. Already
If
done it,
you're,
mate.
yeah, if you're on Spotify, you don't get privilege, but do follow us on Spotify. You know, we're a podcast after all. But if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button on your way in. All right, the Premier League has started, and it happened. It felt like just another game week. Man United just lost today, but we're not kind of shocked, I don't think. Arsenal started really well against Crystal Palace, contrary to initial fears, Harry. Last week, you were pretty pessimistic about Crystal Palace are our bogey team, and things could happen. It could be an early banana skin, so to speak. What did you think? I thought that Arsenal were good. They started like a train, but things seems to kind of fade out, and Palace had a chance or two as a missing a one-on-one, and it looked like they might have a comeback at some point. But what did you make of it all?
Yeah, we did start well. I think we probably played the best 20-minute period of maybe any team this weekend. I think that first 20 minutes was really good, and as good as I've seen us play in ages. Got a well-deserved goal. And I'd say probably for 35 minutes, we were pretty good. They showed the graphic where they hadn't had a shot. It was like the 38th minute or whatever. And then, I don't know, you're always going to ride difficult spells at Selhurst Park. I think it's very difficult to go there and just control the game for 90 minutes. They are going to make it awkward, which is why I was getting quite frustrated in that first half an hour where we just were getting into great positions and it was one pass too many, or people weren't shooting, or people were shooting at the wrong time. It just, it didn't maybe some good situations didn't translate into chances, which was frustrating. And then, when you're only leading by a goal, you're always susceptible. And, that proved to be the case. They put us under pressure. And they're good at that. They went a bit more direct in the second half. The centre back for them, Anderson, he was just pinging them long over the top, just every time. And they're effective. They're a good side. They will give a lot of teams a difficult time at Selhurst Park. So I was pleased to get the win because obviously, I don't like being the first game, and we've been the first game for the last 5 seasons because it just feels like everyone's watching, kind of hoping you will lose. And it wasn't beyond the realms of possibility that we would. So good to get the win, good to just get 3 points on the board, especially because Tottenham won and Chelsea won. And granted, it's the first game of the season, but you saw what happened at the start of last season. We gave up 9 points straight away and ended up missing out by 2 points. So every game week matters, and that's a tricky game that we've managed to get a win in, and I'm pleased with that.
I think it's also important that, obviously Arsenal last season, a lot of people, not necessarily Harry, but a lot of people pinned down their collapse, the latter end of the season due to character and not being able to sort of see out games a lot of the time. And so I think this is a big turning point for Arsenal, being able to not play so well and be able to see out a game. And really, I thought you stifled Crystal Palace, who do have quite a good attack, in my opinion, with Eze, Zaha. I actually quite like Edouard. Not a lot of people do, but it was quite mature.
You've not mentioned the bogeyman, Jordan Ayew.
Yeah,
always seems
not
to
a Jordan
pop up with a goal against us.
I purposely missed him out, but it was quite a mature performance, which you don't usually sort of say with this sort of.
Yeah, it was gritty. There's just kind of not that much to say about it, and I'm pleased with that. That no dramas really. It wasn't that pretty, but I don't really care. It's all about just getting points. I think the first few games of the season, especially, you're just trying to feel your way into it a little bit, and you've seen with some of the teams this weekend, some of the performances weren't that great. Some teams managed to win, like Chelsea, like Arsenal. Yeah. Liverpool slipped up. Obviously, Man United lost. It's not sometimes easy the first few games. You're getting into a rhythm a little bit, and so just getting the win, building a bit of confidence. That's all I can take from it. And as I said, it was pleasing not to slip up and have to sit back and then watch everyone else play for the rest of the weekend, because I remember what I was feeling like on the corresponding Saturday last year, and it wasn't a nice feeling. So good weekend overall, sort of on that front.
I wanted to ask you, Harry, about 2 specific players, and the first one is the new star man, I suppose, Gabriel Jesus, definitive number 9. We know now that he's gonna be your starting striker. Disappointed a little bit because he didn't get me points on fantasy, but
no, I know
dangerous.
he did. He deserved better. This is where fantasy is a bit misleading because he had a really good game, but there's no points for having a good game and being threatening. But yeah, he was good.
Ben White. I don't want to see Ben White playing right back again. It's kind of hard to watch for me. Do you agree with that sentiment?
That's harsh.
Or am I
Do you know
being
what?
harsh?
I think it's really interesting, and you're not the only person to think this. His performance has really split opinions. So some people, like, granted, when I was watching the game, and I'm a nervous wreck watching games anyway, like, I really, I do struggle with it. I think the stuff that annoyed me with Ben White was more at the start of the game. He gave the ball away sloppily a couple of times, and then what happens often with a player is their first few actions define how you see them for the rest of the game. And so if someone starts the game by doing something like that, everything they then do after that, you're going to pick up on if there's anything negative. It was a bit uncomfortable watching him defend against Zaha. I think the first half he did pretty well because he just got tight, didn't let him turn. And Zaha is a bloody hard winger to defending it, especially when you're a centre-back playing right back. And I've always said I don't think he's a good... When he gets dragged out into the wide areas, I don't think he's great. There's a clip of him getting sent for a hot dog by Ronaldo last season, of all people, out on the touchline. I don't think he's great out there. But... Zaha didn't do that much, actually, when you look at it. Granted, he might have looked threatening, but it didn't translate into a lot. And I think it didn't look great, but I think he got the job done. And I think some of the criticism of him, I think it's a little bit harsh, to be honest with you. Like, granted, he's a centre-back, but I think he did a job for us there. I don't think it's an easy task at all.
See, I agree with you. Sorry, Ali, but I agree with Harry because I think... Like, I played fullback, and the best thing as a fullback is to keep someone quiet. Their best players are often on sort of that left wing, and I thought Ben White's body positioning was actually really effective in terms of yes, he could be skinned, and it looked bad. Like, it always looks bad when a player who can run with the ball can run past someone, but it wasn't into. I found every time that happened, it wasn't into dangerous areas. It wasn't into the high scoring. Positions where you can run across the goal and then find a bit of space in the center of the box, or just outside the box, which Eden Hazard was so good at selling players. I don't think that happened a lot, and I think if you can get skinned pretty far out on the in the fullback position, that's absolutely fine. It sounds bad and it looks bad, but I think that's where the perceptions come from. Maybe
I thought Zaha had a poor game. But I didn't think it was because of Ben White. I just thought he should have moved the ball a lot quicker. I
think all the Palace attackers were like that. They didn't pass to each other very much.
Too much. Yeah, they carried a lot. My
Zaha especially though, which I didn't really think Ben White done anything bad, but I did notice Zaha getting into good positions and then not making the right decision.
Yeah,
a lot of the time. So maybe if Zaha had a good game, Ben White
be talking about it differently.
Yeah, more of a talking point.
See, I always think with Arsenal, especially when Saka plays on the right, cutting in, that they need an overlap sometimes. Ben White is a centre back, and that's undeniable that he won't be able to do that. But I thought Ben White in possession was so-and-so.
No, he was poor. He was poor in possession.
There you go. That's kind of my problem with it. And defensively, it helped out because of the kind of him on Zaha helped. But in possession, I think you kind of need better. Personally, I think you need to buy a right back basically, because if you're forced to playing Ben White there, like Ben White being a right centre back,
Well, Tomiyasu does a similar thing though. He's not going to get on the overlap either, but he's injured.
He's better in possession though at right back though. Like
I think he's better in possession at right back. Yeah, he is, and he's a bit more two-footed.
Salisu. Liba looked very good.
Yeah, no, he was good, and that again,
man of the match, wasn't it?
He got man of the match on Sky. Yeah, he's a good player. I mean, granted, I didn't want to go too big on him before the game because we know how it goes if you do, but.
Yeah,
he looks really good. He has the sort of the God-given traits of a sort of a modern centre-back. I mean, he's big, he's tall, he sort of has that aura about him. Yeah. And so he's got everything there if he develops to be a really good player. But Yeah, he was good. He had a very good game, and we needed him at times. So it was a good performance. You know, I'm pleased to just get the win. Really, like it's a hard place to go. Like I will say, I just don't think you go there and get an easy game, especially under the lights, Friday night, first game of the season. They really wanted to beat us. Like they really fancied it. I think Palace, and granted, they had a sort of disrupted pre-season, but I think it's always going to be a tough game. So pleased to just win, and we're on to the next.
Yeah, it's the Ben White thing. It turned out to be minor anyway. But
no, it's one to keep an eye on. I don't think it's an unfair point. I think that I struggle to be that critical of a player who's playing out of position and just doing a job for the team. Like, would I rather him play there than Cedric? Absolutely. And so,
see, I
kind of failed winger or failed centre back.
I just don't like Cedric. He's not a good defender. Granted, he gets on the overlap a bit more and puts a few crosses in. But then
it honestly depends on what you want to do in possession. If you're okay with a defender that will just, shift the ball to the next guy, and kind of, I know the Arsenal depend on their build-up play a lot from the left, and they've done that a lot of time with different models, really. From the Aubameyang days of, the COVID season, drifts out to the left, starts left wing at times, and I had these little triangles going on. Now Zinchenko's a much more offensive option. On the left, he's also played number 10. So but yeah, losing possession 15 times wasn't pretty though. Okay, let's move on from Arsenal. Good win.
Yeah,
good win. You should be optimistic. Chelsea,
cautiously optimistic.
1-0, cautiously optimistic. That's a better way of putting it. Chelsea. 1-0 win at Everton.
Gonna win the league. I'm convinced now. After seeing that wonderful performance.
Yeah, of course. Tell us how you really feel, Fergal.
That was what I expected. It was kind of just boring game, and I mean, we had over 2 XG, which we seem to grind out the XG, but if you watch the game, I'll never believe it. Yeah. Obviously, you've got the penalty XG in there, but it was what we expect. It's very slow build up, and sort of create a couple of half chances, nothing major. Sterling looked all right, and the wing backs made the difference. Chilwell winning the penalty.
Yeah.
It's
same old.
It's so frustrating that we're finally putting in crosses when we don't have Lukaku. The amount of balls in that Reece James put in, I was so frustrated because look, Havertz isn't small. I think he's nearly 6'4". He might be 6'4".
He scored a couple of headers.
Yeah, but he's not. But he's not exactly a presence in the box.
Whenever he gets a header, it's because he's ghosted in.
Yeah, it's because of movement rather than a pinpoint cross. And what I found was with Chelsea, like you said, there doesn't seem to be patterns of play in the final third. There doesn't seem to be a pull across the with Man City throughout the game, and also you look at Liverpool, they're great at it. They'll pull balls across the box so many times. Like there'll be so many, not necessarily crosses, but balls across the box. You saw Salah do it to Nunez quite a lot. There'll be players in the box as well to finish that off, whether it be midfielders or most likely with midfielders with Man City, but most likely with Liverpool, it's wingers. Either way, I don't feel like Chelsea have that. I don't think they've got those patterns of play yet. Whether it's because of new personnel, I don't believe that. I thought Sterling was really good because he had that creative freedom, but he didn't really create much, and we didn't really create much. I mean, we deserved the win. Everton looked fairly defensively solid. I mean, surprisingly. I think they deserve not a lot credit, but a bit credit in that sense. They could have very easily scraped out a draw, was it not for a very clumsy Decore tackle in the box.
There was 2 penalty shouts though, so the
the Sterling thing, which if you've seen
that was a penalty. I don't understand why it wasn't given. Like Decore lifted Sterling off the ground.
Yeah, he did more than lifted. Yeah.
Let's not talk about the other stuff. But
yeah, but I'm worried about Tuchel. having said that, if we win 1-0 every single game of the season, we'll win the league. So
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I mean,
it's-
no, you're not gonna play every time week, so.
But it's just. I mean, I feel like I don't know what other podcasts have been saying, but I feel like we've been ahead of the curve on this. Like we've been saying this while winning the Champions League.
Yeah.
The attacking play has never been there under Tuchel.
Only on JAFP.
And it's always grinding results out. It was a spell at the start of last season that we looked like we were doing well attacking. But yeah, it's still lacking so much, and it just doesn't feel like any of the players in the front line, like we're getting the best out of them. Like it doesn't feel like they're all playing in their suited perfect position that they'll thrive in. Maybe Sterling is contrary to that. But in good news though is, well, yeah, no, it is good news. Timo Werner looks like he's on the way out.
Okay. Okay.
Great news.
You know what? Now he's
you.
gone, and he's gone relatively soon. Like we haven't had to drag it out for too long. It's basically just been 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And one of them he did contribute to winning the Champions League in. I'm gonna think of him more fondly than I would have done if he had it.
Yeah, he dragged it out. I think it's clear, like, you know, football maybe shouldn't be played on aesthetics, but looking at him and his style of play, I just don't think that's Chelsea moving forward. So I'm quite glad he's left. I know it's obviously a reduction of sort of around 20 million, 25 million.
Yeah. So he's on 300 grand a week, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. It's 300 grand a week, and to get rid of that. And also, he's not been good. Like, we can't exactly demand the same amount of money for a player that hasn't been performing for 2.5 years. It's just not reasonable. So we, you know, and I don't believe we overpaid for him either at the time, with Liverpool in for him and with other teams in for him. It's just unfortunate. I think is it unfortunate? Maybe it is bad scouting. I don't know. It's one of those weird ones that it's just not worked out, and it'll happen to other teams. Where you believe you've signed a top prospect, but actually, in reality, it's.
We'll see him in the Champions League. If he can do it in the Champions League for Leipzig, then
he has.
Maybe he wasn't used right, or something went wrong. But
he's also had to come off as a substitute because the noise was too loud for his ears.
Well, yeah, that was weird.
So,
but I will say,
and he was quoted saying the raindrops are bigger and harder in England.
Yeah,
I forgot about the raindrops thing. But I would say it's funny that Chelsea spent 150 million on Lukaku and Werner for them to not end up in the team just after a season when Lukaku was there, and without strikers, full stop. But also, I really wanted Fergal. I really wanted Werner to come to Liverpool at the time you signed him. So yeah. I can't say like, oh, he's flopped and it's funny. So you know what? I don't.
You can.
Yeah. You can.
Can I really? When I really wanted him, dodge a bullet. I suppose that's.
I don't know. You just don't know how he would have been for Liverpool. You just don't know.
Yeah, if Liverpool wanted him, I bet he would have worked out. Like, how many times have we seen this with Chelsea?
Well, no, because Chelsea broke their wage structure to sign him very clearly. He was on an excessive wage.
Is it definitely 300,000?
No, it's just below. Kante's on 275.
Kante was the highest earner, and also Havertz was on.
But he was on excessive wages anyway. It's not excusable.
He was getting paid a lot.
To whatever, or 300,000.
What he was actually producing?
He's like it's time.
270,000. It was apparently.
According to who, Harry?
I'll remember Timo Werner.
According to
like when he scored
all
against...
football.
Yeah. With Werner as well, it wasn't as though it was just Tuchel. It was Frank Lampard as well, and there are players that were scoring under Frank Lampard. There's not been players that are scoring under Tuchel, and I think with Lukaku, that's why I argue quite strongly that it was Tuchel rather than Lukaku. Not necessarily. I'm not saying Lukaku wasn't a really negative force within the dressing room. I'm saying a different manager gets 20 goals out of Lukaku in the Premier League. Conte, yeah, I genuinely still believe that. I know, I do. Like he got 16. goals.
I can see it. I think for the first, I had 2 observations from this game, just sort of very quickly. One was that this game went on for 2 hours 10 minutes with all the stoppages.
It's too long,
and it felt like it.
yeah.
What are we saying about incidents in the crowd? Are we still?
No, but they've changed the procedure for it, haven't they? So
They have. I
they're
feel
trying to
like-
have less of them this season. Basically, they're trying to obviously have people in play, like designated doctors in the ground
Yeah.
to prevent games being stopped.
I bet it was they've changed nothing, and all these.
Well, that's the
things are
party
already in
line.
place.
Yeah.
I could because these things have like they would have had like loads of people have had heart attacks at games before, and even like since all this has happened, I've heard a couple of different stories about I was at a game and it happened and he just the game carried on and your man got seen to like they always say it, like it's the best place to have a heart attack other than the hospitals at a Premier League football stadium because there's just loads of people there. So I'd be mortified if, like, providing I was survived it and all. I'd be a bit embarrassed if a whole game was stopped for me.
That's a very British Irish thing, though. I think to be embarrassed that you've had a heart attack.
Wow.
It's so like
I wouldn't like the thought of just being like waking
same.
up and then like seeing it back and like the whole game stopped for me. Like to see Mason Mount sort of kicking his shoes or whatever, just waiting to carry on with it.
See,
like
I feel
as long
have...
as the medical people are able to get into them, get them quickly and get them out.
Yeah,
I don't see why the game needs to be stopped.
See, the game needed to be stopped because it was on the other end, and if there was a injury to a player on the field, then the medical staff wouldn't be able to attend to it. I feel like, but. Again, they had to go all the way across the field, so the game had to be stopped for the medical staff to go there. But they did change the procedure. Like they did.
Medical staff shouldn't be involved in it either.
Exactly that was the rule change. ESPN published the list of rule change for this season before, like maybe last week, and one of them was that Premier League medical staff were not responsible for medical incidents in the crowd. But I feel like it was fairly close to the ground, and someone was just like screaming and shouting, "Hey, we need help here!" So I feel like if the referee doesn't stop the game, then he's like, that's kind of, why wouldn't you stop a game for 5 minutes if you're gonna save a life? It's a more.
What about if someone's throwing goal and it's to win the Premier League?
Then you should still stop the game.
Are we going to start a precedent of people feigning heart attacks to stop the game?
Oh, the precedent started last season.
Just pivotal moments. Like your team's under the caution, needs to hold on for it. You go, I'll give them 5 minutes here.
I don't know. But maybe I don't know. Maybe it's just a case of referees were used to one thing, now they have to shift their mindset completely in a very hard subject.
Just to clarify with my statement about like the football team's medical staff shouldn't be involved in the crowd. What I'm saying is like there should be enough medical staff in the crowd already.
Yeah,
there should be more.
There should be more.
And obviously, if someone needs it, obviously
stadium staff, stuff like that. Okay. Yeah. So, are you drawing any conclusions just yet about Chelsea? Are you saying we need...
same as what I predicted?
What I was going to add, because I've always pushed back on that a little bit. I think just because I kind of got swept up in them winning the Champions League, which granted is a knockout competition and it's different to doing it over 38 games. But I thought and I'm not saying Tuchel has to go by any means, but like I've reached a point with it where, and like, again, they've had a chaotic summer. They've had players coming out. They've had the new owner step in. But I've reached a point with it where I do understand what the lads are saying, like when they're watching it every week. And it must be frustrating because they definitely have good players. But it's just, it's really like, it's a tough watch at times with Chelsea. It just doesn't feel like
we're getting more than some of our parts.
No, in attack, I agree with you. It just doesn't. Something's not right with it. Like it's hard to quite pinpoint it, but I know what you're saying in terms of when you watch the attacks, they don't look well choreographed. It doesn't look like it's well rehearsed. It's almost like he's so focused on getting the team from the defensive third to the final third. But then when you actually get there, I don't really know what you're trying to do.
People say that he's a bit like, I know Mourinho was a bit like this. That he would coach them on the defense and build up phase until they got to the final third, and then it's on them to create.
Ancelotti's
That was Guardiola as well. I remember Henri saying that about him. He's very like meticulous, until the final third, and then there's that like element of fluidity.
Guardiola clearly isn't like that anymore, though.
But I'm saying, like, what you see from them is that they have the rotations, they have the fluidity in the front three, front four, whatever, front five at times. Like, you see it, they create. With Chelsea, I just don't see that at this stage. And look, like, we're being critical. Like, they won the game, they did what they had to do. Then again, Chelsea, very similar to Arsenal against Palace. It's a tricky fixture for them. They haven't won the last four there.
Yeah.
So, like, as much as Everton aren't a great team, and obviously they played without a striker, as well documented. Like, they're not a great side, but it was important to just get the win because obviously, Arsenal already won, Spurs had already won, so there was pressure on Chelsea because people are waiting for them to slip up. I think to kind of go, I'm right, gotcha. Because I think a lot of people are expecting them to struggle this season, and I think a little bit unfairly. I still think they've got good players, and I think it's just a little early to draw conclusions, Ali, to answer your question.
Oh yeah,
from
definitely.
a sort of distant perspective, because I think that they'll probably bring some more players in, and I think that you're one game into the season, so all I would say on it is I just like some of the same problems are definitely still there, and they probably need to be addressed if they have aspirations of doing anything significant this season.
But we should, at this stage in the amount of money that's been spent, we should be challenging for the title. In the timeline, there's enough time has gone past where we should be in a position, but because of poor transfers, we're not in that position, and poor decisions and stuff like that. Like I'm a bit down on Chelsea just because of that reason as well. We're behind where schedule basically of where we should be as a club.
The games are too marginal for what's actually been spent.
Yeah,
really.
And just like the big transfers still don't feel like they've bedded in. And yeah, and then I can't remember. I was going to say something else there, but yeah, it's just not where we expected it to be, and like there needs to be change quickly. And like 'cause the problems have been there from day one when Tuchel took over. So and the attack still hasn't improved.
Interesting.
It's a big game. That game next weekend between Chelsea and Spurs. I think this early in the season, granted, but Spurs had a good win. I don't want to talk too much about it, but they had a good win.
They did.
And I think a lot of people are probably more optimistic about Spurs this season than they are Chelsea, and so it's a big moment for Chelsea to kind of just lay a marker down and say, look, get in your lane, lads, and I hope you beat them as kind of you usually do, because if you don't and they do manage to win that game, then I think there's going to be an inquest, and it'll only be 2 games into the season, but there's pressure on it, no doubt.
100%
Poor Gavin had a hard time in that game. I felt sorry for him.
Yeah,
he struggled on his debut.
He did struggle, the poor lad. He looked nervous.
Liverpool struggled too.
Nervous.
Liverpool.
They did, Ali. They did.
I'm confused. I'm very confused by this performance. It felt like
what was as well.
It felt like a championship level performance. It was not good enough. This is not something anyone says about Liverpool ever, maybe, because we've been so good for a long, long time. This was bordering on the unacceptable. It was just because we got a draw, then it's consolation, really, but that was bad.
In fairness, if it was championship, Fulham would have won.
Well,
yeah.
That's true. I guess that's the difference, It reminded me of Egypt a little bit, and having looked at the average positions, it's not surprising that it reminded me of Egypt. Most of our attacks focus down the right. Trent and Salah Trent is way more advanced than Robertson. Salah is out on his own, although he did have combinations, sure, and combined with Darwin Nunez for both goals. get in. So your striker getting a goal on his debut, official and unofficial. Let's go.
Should have started the game.
Absolutely. I am. Why aren't we going for a 4-2-3-1 where Firmino and Darwin Nunez start together against Fulham? Well, it felt a little bit negative actually with the midfield. And the fact that you don't need Firmino's role against Fulham. Tim Ream is playing for Fulham. You shouldn't be struggling against Tim Ream. Get numbers in.
Did he play?
Tim Ream?
No.
Yeah.
Oh
Who?
my goodness.
Who?
Tim Ream? No, I didn't realise he'd started the game.
He started the
Oh
game.
my God.
He started
Played
the
well.
game.
Wow.
You can't struggle against Tim Ream.
I honestly didn't realise that. Yeah, and I
but
remember
no,
him a couple of seasons ago.
He's not even good enough to start for the U.S. men's national team. Let alone in the Premier League. Like, no, it was awful. Tosin had a great game though.
There.
Go on. What was that?
He's coming up against Matt Miazga there. In fairness, that's a tough.
Well,
tough
Matt Miazga
opposition.
hasn't been called up for a long time for some reason. But I don't know. We had a bit of a double pivot shape, and the man that was in front of the double pivot was Henderson. So we played with three midfielders who were supposed to be, Fabinho pivot, and then you had Thiago left center and Henderson drifting away with Salah and Trent. We didn't see that. Henderson was so central. I don't get it. And we were playing against a 4-4-2, so there are two things. You don't need as many numbers in midfield because they have a 4-4-2 block. And second of all, you're coming up against two wide layers of players who are sitting back in a flat 4-4-2 block. So, this would have been perfect if you had Henderson helping out Salah and Trent to outnumber the numbers on that side. It would have been perfect. And we played it completely into their hands. They sat back very effectively. We gave the ball away something like 200 times. Let me look at the statistics here. I would be very intrigued. 202 times we lost possession.
Wow.
That's a lot. And then their strategy was in an attack. You have a 4-4-2, so just put it wide to someone who can cross, and have Mitrovic on Trent, whose biggest weakness is defending at the back post and defending in actual awareness of where the striker is. And it works.
Not great as a right back.
And it just works.
He's about to say he can't defend. He couldn't say it.
I mean, it's not deniable. He does have problems with being aware of where his man is. He does have problems with defending at the back post. And Mitrovic.
Good job, he's not a fullback then.
I guess so. And then they just put Mitrovic on him, and he bullied him.
You changed your
so bad.
Yeah, have you changed your mind on Mitrovic yet? I know it's early doors.
No,
but
I didn't.
He did
I haven't.
really well.
I haven't.
He was good.
You think he's a bad? You think he's a bad striker, not Premier League?
I
standards?
don't think he's a bad striker. I think if you're playing in the Premier League, you are elite. That's just automatic.
No.
You
said he's not Premier League. You said
he's not Premier League.
You said he's not Premier League.
In my opinion, I don't think he's Premier League. And if he does pass 10 goals, I'm wrong, and I'm happy to take it. I'm happy to be wrong about players when I underestimate them. I don't think he will get to that. He shouldn't have scored yesterday. He shouldn't have scored yesterday. They shouldn't have been allowed to have that many chances.
I thought he played really well.
He did.
Also, on
winning
top
the
of
penalty,
that,
that was sick. The fact that you can get around Virgil van Dijk that way and win a penalty off him is brilliant. Like that.
Cruyff turn as well.
Cruyff turn.
I think there's a couple of concerns for me with Liverpool, and we should probably mention that Fulham were really good, and Mitrovic as a shining light in that team.
I like the look of Cabano as well.
Yeah. But for me, Liverpool, there's a couple of concerns. One was how wide Salah was. I really like to see Salah tucked in. And
agreed.
Look, obviously, the assist is great that he's got an assist with his right foot.
Mm-hmm.
However, and he did a similar cross a couple, I think it's maybe even 5 minutes before that. And Nunes tries the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Salah crossing with his right foot into a striker. I genuinely see that as a concern. I don't know. Obviously, he's creating chances, But I see that as a concern that Salah's not tucked in. And you see with the second goal that Salah's right in the centre. He's right in the mix. And I think that's more productive
Yeah.
with Trent pushing on and Henderson putting that ball in. Even though I don't rate Henderson highly, I think it's just more, you're going to get more output that way. The other concerning thing was obviously Núñez did score. However, he's tried that flick twice. It failed. Technically, it failed twice.
Yeah.
Even though he scored, it wasn't
lucky.
exactly. Exactly. And I think there's that naivety there, and this idea that he does want to show that he's class and he's trying these flicks, which is nice to see. But when you're down 2-0, or you're down,
2-1. Well, we drew and then they scored.
1-0. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. And you're down by 1 goal.
Against Fulham,
you don't want your striker to be trying to backheel it into the goal. You want them to convict, like just smack it in. Just smack it in with your right foot. Put it in.
I disagree.
Really?
As a right foot, and I've played striker a couple of times.
No, it's easy to
compare myself to a Premier League.
No, I'm not having that.
But if I'm right footed, sometimes it's actually the easier finish is to do what he tried.
No,
I actually agree with Fergal. If it's slightly behind you, it's harder to adjust. Maybe you'll have to take
a couple of them myself, and I'm like, they're not even a son of eight. It's sometimes it's harder to, if a ball's coming across you, if you're facing the ball coming to you and you're running towards the near post, you have to. It's actually harder to get the timing of it when you're coming from it like head on, and you have to try and get it. Kick it like that. It also means that a lot of the time the centre back is covering the front post. So if you try that, they're gonna end up blocking it a lot of the time because they're there at your near post. Whereas the flick kills them, and it's actually sometimes easier to you're letting the ball come to you a little bit more as opposed to trying to meet it perfectly with a connection. I don't mind seeing a striker try it with that type of finish.
I don't.
1 and 2 ain't bad.
Yeah, no, I know, but he didn't score that. He didn't score that flick. So
he bounced off the defender
twice.
and he bounced off Tosin, and then he hit his heel and went in.
And also on top of that, learn to use your left foot as a professional footballer. Learn to use your left foot. Well, I like seeing the flicked goals when it's instinctuous. When the player's done it without having to think. It didn't seem that to me. It seemed very purposeful. It didn't work.
Yeah, well, he scored, so
he scored, but it didn't work.
It didn't work. Yeah, I agree. I see both of your points. So in terms of George, yes, just choose the easier option. Finish it with your inside of the foot. And Fergal's point about if your body position doesn't allow you to have a quote unquote normal finish, maybe that's the easier way to go. But it might have not looked natural to do that at the time, and that's really up to what this the body mechanics of the striker is something we can't see or feel. So it's really hard to have an opinion on that. But I agree that it didn't work both times. So yeah, I mean, let's see what we do going forward. After such a morale boosting, confidence boosting win against Man City, and then we do that. That was bad. It was bad. Couldn't believe it.
Núñez does seem like he can sniff out goals. He does. I like that's the one thing that I'm not convinced of him as like. I haven't seen the performance where I'm like, wow, yet.
Yeah,
he can sniff them out.
Oh, he's in the right position. Yeah, you can't argue with that.
And he get a bit of luck with them, but that's that's a worrying sign for me that he's just like if the rest of it comes together, he's already doing one of the hardest parts really well.
Yeah.
Yep.
The movement. Yeah.
Lastly, I feel like in the bigger results of the day, you mentioned them at the start, it wasn't shocking necessarily. And must say from the start, it wasn't Lisandro Martinez's fault. Man United shouldn't lose 2-1 to Brighton at home under any circumstances. This is Man United.
Short King. Give him his full title, Ali. Short King.
Short King Lisandro Martinez, right?
Yeah.
We shouldn't. We're not going to blame him for that. Who is to blame, guys? Who's to blame for that defeat? David De Gea.
I've only got one person. David De Gea. It has
exactly.
to be David De
There you
Gea.
go.
Both goals were his fault. First goal, he has to. I've seen we got obviously Fez the Red on a few weeks ago now, and he spoke about David De Gea as the worst player at Man United. Didn't speak about McTominay. Didn't speak about Fred. And I see it. A couple of his kickouts were terrible. Some of his passes were absolutely woeful. Yeah. He gave away the ball for the goal. I think. I believe he also there's this clip where in the goal they pull it across the box and he goes with his foot, he goes with his legs when he could claim it with his hands. And Dean Henderson claimed it with his hands in the Newcastle Forest game, exactly the same situation, a little bit less power. I must give it to De Gea. But there's real concerns with him. He can't play in the system, in my opinion, and I think. He's got an over-reliance on saves where he has to use his reactions rather than his footballing brain. He spilled it the second. I think he's pushed it into a dangerous area for the second goal as well.
I agree with that.
I don't think he's put it in the right area when he could have done better. So, I'm not saying it's all his fault. Look, they actually deserve.
You did.
Yeah, I did. Actually, I'm gonna. I'll double.
Double down. Like I get it, mate. I get it. I think I've been on to De Gea for a long time now. Like, even when people said he was a great goalkeeper, I feel like I was years ahead. Where I said, look, he's good. He's a good shot stopper, but he doesn't prevent situations from arising. I see Fergal sniggering there, but trust me, mate. The message receipts are there, mate. I will bring them. I'll bring them as evidence. They'll be on the Twitter page, right?
Yeah. the thought of you like that, it sounds like a very pessimistic view. You know, that this world class keeper, as he was at one point, you're going. He will eventually be very bad.
But he's right.
Point in his career, he will be bad.
I think he hasn't actually regret. I mean, granted, he had a couple of really poor years, but I think as an overall, in terms of what he actually offers, he hasn't regressed. I think the game's just evolved.
I just think the role of goalkeeper has.
And he just the problem is, and we had it with Petr Cech and then Leno. Like, when you're trying to build out from the back and you have a keeper that's just undermining everything you're doing in possession, it is really problematic. It should be said, there were a lot of other problems with their performance. There really were. I mean, the midfield is just I cannot believe. And then there's the stuff about they're trying to sign Arnautovic now to come in as a forward. I mean, when you've watched Arsenal sign Jesus and Chelsea brought Sterling in, and Spurs have got Richarlison and Nunes and Haaland. What are they doing? It's unbelievable.
Tesco guy as well from Salzburg. Like, surely if it was between him or Arnautovic, maybe they're going to sign both of them or try to sign both. But like, why? Why are they? I honestly don't know who's thought of Arnautovic. Apparently, the link is Steve McLaren and Ten Hag trained with him or coached him at 20. That's the only link I've heard.
I wonder if they've looked at pressures. What I would say as well, I think Ten Hag deserves a bit of criticism here. Where obviously I rate him not starting Ronaldo. Putting Eriksen up front doesn't really make sense to me in terms of pressures. But on top of that,
you off there a little bit, George. Sorry.
But
Eriksen was.
I do want to finish my point.
Okay, sorry, go on. But Eriksen does play a lot deeper than that.
No, I know, but they didn't have a recognised striker, as in he was one of the most advanced forwards and central. And on top of that, he's then gone on to bring on Ronaldo. You cannot bring on Ronaldo in that situation that you're dropping him when you don't have a recognised striker. You either play Ronaldo, start him, or you don't play him at all. I'm sorry, you don't play him. My ego would get the better of me, and I would just have to not play Ronaldo for the full 90. And he didn't really do much to help, in my opinion, anyway.
Well, the reason he brought him on, George, was so Ronaldo couldn't leave early. If he had left him on the bench, he would have got up and left, and that would have been a good look. So,
oh god,
no, I just think it's bizarre.
He came on at the 53rd. If it gave you 60 minutes, would he have left?
Yeah, if Ronaldo was there going, I've got a taxi ready to go in 5 minutes.
He's booked his restaurant. He's booked his restaurant. Wow.
But I mean,
it's worth saying though, honestly. Sorry, go on, Ali.
No, I was just gonna comment on George's point where you don't bring on Cristiano Ronaldo when you want goals. It's a bit counterintuitive.
I think
But I
he should have
see it.
started. He should have started him. I think
Yeah,
he should have just bit the bullet and done it. I get your point about once you then sort of go back on yourself and bring him on,
it's
it
completely
undermines the decision in the first place.
Yeah.
You put yourself in a perilous position by not starting him. You've seen it. It causes a referendum on the manager's head by not doing it.
I actually think what he done was probably the best thing, and the reason I say that is, we don't know what the situation is going to be, Ronaldo.
Yeah.
So you don't want to burn your bridges, and I think the best use of Ronaldo is exactly what happened. Super sub.
I don't think it is.
If he's going to be at the club, I think and you still want to try and evolve the team. You don't start with him, but he's there if you need him, and I think you just get him used to that. So Ronaldo, look,
Good luck.
well, you're not doing the running for me, but you can do it for half an hour.
You've got no chance. He won't agree to that. I'm certain of it. There's absolutely no chance.
He won't agree to it. But even Ronaldo might not have a choice in the matter.
He might not have a choice, but my point is, by saying he won't agree to it, I'm not saying he'll leave the club. You're talking about not burning any bridges. Of course, you'll burn bridges with him.
Yeah,
he won't want to play for you. Yeah. You know, he'll find a way.
If you didn't start him altogether, I think that's even worse.
But he didn't start him.
Oh, sorry, if he doesn't come on when there are goals down and he's there,
but that's the decision. You either if you don't start Ronaldo when you don't have a recognised striker at all, you are making that decision.
Well, I think
you're
left with having Ronaldo, greatest player of all time. You know, if you're within Man United.
But then it's desperate, Fergal. It's desperate. I know. I appreciate sometimes in football you have to be desperate, but
the reason it's desperate, just to sort of bring it back, is because the recruitment has been awful. They should have another striker there in place and playing this match today.
I don't know why they're going for Arnautovic,
but they're not getting linked.
Was playing on the other side of the pitch. They bring Danny home.
Mensa, mate, what a player! What a player! I love a fully fit Danny Welbeck. Honestly, what a guy. But no, on a serious note, just to say, I just every single target they've been linked with this summer, no word of a lie, is either Dutch, played in the Dutch league, or worked with the manager before, or worked with, in this case, worked with Steve McLaren before. It really doesn't speak to.
Some of the Derby players are getting calls.
I mean, it's incredible. It doesn't speak to very. It doesn't speak to a very successful scouting network when you're essentially just buying players on the manager's say so. And granted, there is a benefit sometimes to getting players in that have worked with the manager before, and he knows the cut of their jib and he knows what they'll offer. I understand that to a point, but that doesn't mean that every single player you buy has to be someone he's worked with before. Because what if he's rubbish? What if Ten Hag, you get to April and you think, this guy's going nowhere, we're going to have to fire him. And then you're just left with a load of his players that you think, well, we don't want these.
It's not just that as well, Harry, but it's also the fact that surely you would hope that someone out there could do a level up job on an Ajax player in terms of that position. There's going to be a pressing forward that they could bring in that's better than Haller. You know, you would hope so anyway. And if you're not using your massive scouting network to find these players, you're doing and falling back on players that you can trust, but at the same time won't level you up to a certain standard. You're going to be in massive trouble. Can we believe that we're saying, oh my God, Martial's a massive miss for this team? That's stark.
That says something.
And he is,
man. He is, but he shouldn't be. He absolutely should not be.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. It would drive me mad. I think it's hilarious though. It's great.
It's really funny. Keep at it.
It's taking too many tips from McLaren if come winter time the Brawley's out. You know. That's when we. That's when.
And he's speaking in an English accent as well.
Speaking Dutch in an English accent.
Dutch in English accent.
All right. Really quickly, guys. One last shout out. Brendan Aronson scoring his first goal. My God.
No, he didn't.
He did. It's his goal.
He didn't though.
He didn't. He did. And I should have my fantasy points.
Premier League.
I don't know where they are.
Premier League.
It's his goal. It's his goal.
Is that Nouri own goal?
Own goal. I know Premier
It was an
League.
own goal.
He
confirmed
touched it. I don't know why they gave the Nuriga goal. It
It was
literally hit his
clearly
shin.
an own
He didn't touch
goal.
it.
It
It
was
was ignored.
clearly an own
He
goal.
literally hit his shin.
Ali.
I don't understand.
Ali, it was clearly an own goal.
Ali, stop your toxic positivity. It was an own goal.
Anyway, on that same game, there was another player that performed that did really well.
Jesus.
And one thing he has in common with us, and we don't have a lot in common with football players, is that he is short. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in Just Another Football Podcast, and every single game week from now on, we are awarding Short King of the Week.
Oh,
And we've decided
I was
this
going to
week...
do a drum roll there, maybe. You were too quick.
Oh,
You
sorry.
were too quick
All right.
on. That's
No,
all right,
no,
mate. That's all
no,
right.
we haven't announced who it is yet, though.
We haven't...
That's true.
Ladies and
That's
gentlemen...
true.
So for
Drum
the
roll,
very
please.
first inaugural
let
Short
me
King
let me
of the week.
let me introduce it. I'm the host here. All right, and I'll give you the cue for the drum roll, Harry. Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
listeners and viewers of Just Another Football Podcast, our inaugural Short King of the Week is Daniel Pedence. Congratulations,
There you go.
Daniel
What a moment.
Pedence. What a moment. The inaugural Short King of the Week on Just Another Football Podcast. If you don't
Great
understand the
finish.
context, we are all very short. So
Yeah.
we're championing our short kings. Up to Sandro
Rightly
Martinez,
so.
even though he's on an enemy's team. Daniel Pedence takes it this week, though.
Mm.
Daniel Pedence takes
Yeah.
it this week.
Whenever we get really big, we will be sending out tiny little trophies, man of match
Three players.
trophies.
Yeah.
To
Two players. Oh wow!
Mm.
Short
What-
King
what
of the
I would also
season. That would
say-
be massive.
It's just the shortest trophy ever. No,
Yeah.
it's,
No pun intended.
what I
when
would
you
massive.
say-
give it to him, it's then massive.
yeah.
It's a
What I would
really
say on
big
this one
base
is
and a very short player.
yeah, it's a bad start because really there weren't very many good short performers. We had
Yeah.
obviously Harling, but it was mainly off the
A lot of
goal
them
that he
came up
scored.
short.
Yeah, a lot of. Yeah. But there we go. Hopefully it gets better, bigger and better each week, apart from smaller.
What's our cutoff
said.
point
Well done,
with Short King of the Week? Is it 6 foot or is it like 5'8" or is it our average height?
No, 6 foot.
It's fine.
I don't think
Fish-
we're not gonna put rules on it.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Let's
I
just
accept
give it
that.
the title for now. If it comes down to we all agreed this week, but there might be times when we don't agree,
Yeah.
and we're gonna have a debate about it. And
Yeah.
at that point, then maybe rules will come into it. But at the moment, it's just vibes, guys. It's just Short
Just
King
vibes.
vibes.
Just
So
whoever we
let's
think is
just-
short.
Let's just roll with it.
Alrighty.
Good, well said.
Very well said. Because if we have a cutoff of 5'8", we can put Lisandro Martinez in. Another really quick one before we finish. A regular feature on the podcast is coming back with the new season. Just another fantasy pick. Fergal, you've done the calculations. How badly
Yeah,
did you do?
the numbers didn't get
feel
too
like-
high.
Yeah.
So the calculations were nice and easy.
The numbers were short, is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Short of points.
So
always.
I went with Matty Cash, expecting Bournemouth after hearing about how awful they're going to be, and Scott Parker saying how bad the defense was going to be. I was thinking,
Yeah.
this is the shoe-in for Jared's Aston Villa with their new 30 million odd centre back, we clean sheet in the bag, and all the rest of it. Matty Cash, 1 point. Very disappointing. Ali,
Yep.
you picked Christiansen from Leeds.
Yeah. With good reason.
He
So,
got 2.
well, anyway.
Harry, you were playing, and I quote, 3D chess. Picking Harry
playing chess.
Kane. So and it worked. Whatever type of chess you were playing, it worked.
Very normal
Game, set, and
chess.
match. Harry Kane got 2, and didn't score, but obviously the Spurs did very well.
Yeah.
And then top of the pile this week with a very tall for us 3 points. George was Sterling.
Huge.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
At least he won.
yeah, as it reads, I'm bottom with 1 point. Ali and Harry in second on 2 points. George at the top, got flying ahead with 3 points.
Well done,
That's
well done, George. You've blanked.
I have to say, That's so bad.
Hey, the thing is though, the first
on.
game week is always really hard to predict.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because you want to see. There's always like one odd player that like, one player that's done well this week will go on to have an absolute terrible season.
It's not though.
Like Ricky Van Wolfswinkel. You know, everybody thought he was going to be brilliant, and he had one good game, and then he was tossed. So like, there's got one of these players is going to be terrible, and then there's going to be players that have had a bad first game and going to go on to do well, like Lissandro Martinez. So it's hard to call, and Bournemouth might not get another win this season. Who knows? But they got one against Villa.
Yeah,
They did.
They did. But you never know. Oh, I mean, Fulham drew with us. My God. That's
Exactly.
awful. I want to mention a really quick result before we go, because Juventus lost a friendly to Atletico Madrid 4-0 today, and it's not like they played a second string lineup or whatever. So that was interesting. If maybe when the Serie A season starts, one to keep an eye on with Juventus. Roma won 6-0 against Shakhtar. It is Shakhtar, but it is a 6-0. Recently,
Do they have any players, Shakhtar? They've
Uh,
loaned out half their team, haven't they? Shakhtar Donetsk, because
That was playing while it lost 6-0.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they fielded an 11. That's what we know. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on Serie A, of course, when that kick starts again. Jorginho Wijnaldum and Paulo Dybala signing for Roma is huge for Tammy FC. That's.
Did you see the announcement video for Wijnaldum? And he just walks out of a swimming pool in a full kit.
Yeah, I
Compared to
didn't
the
understand
Dybala
it.
one.
Bizarre. Bizarre.
Jorginho Wijnaldum had a really good welcome at Stadio Olimpico, though. It was a really good welcome before their friendly today.
Probably only just
walks
dried
out
off.
and they all sing a song, and it was good, but it's nothing compared to Dybala, Mike.
Was he still wet?
Dybala was
He wasn't,
announced
no.
as if it
Dried
was
out,
like
so hot.
Messi signing for Roma, and like the whole city was out.
Yeah, it's
There
mad.
was a whole thing.
It's
Mm.
sad,
Just
that's
and
crazy.
then Wijnaldum, who's actually had a better career than Dybala,
Yeah,
has
technically.
to walk out of a swimming pool in a full kit.
Yeah.
I reckon to be fair, with Roma fans, I reckon I'd get a good reception. They wouldn't have a clue who I am, but they'll
Okay.
turn out in full force. They love it.
They're very loyal. They like to welcome their people. All right, fabulous. That was the end of it this week. All right. I guess we'll see next week after Chelsea do things against Tottenham, or vice versa. And yeah, have a great rest of your week, everyone. And we will see you next time. Good luck to the Short Kings out there. And yes, I don't know how to end this. Cheers, bye!
Thank you very much.
Oh, and subscribe and follow us on JF_pod. All right, thank you.
What happened, Harry?
I couldn't end it. All right, bye.